There is a certain kind of spiritual exhaustion that nobody talks about. Not the exhaustion of somebody who has given up. The exhaustion of somebody who has not given up. Someone who has studied, who has practiced, who has sat in silence, who has read the texts, listened to the teachings, meditated, surrendered, started again, and had moments, real moments, when something opened, something became silent, something was recognized. And yet the recognition doesn't stay. The mind returns, the old patterns return, the sense of separation returns, and slowly a very painful question begins to appear. Perhaps there is something wrong with me. Maybe this is something other people can reach. I can't do this in this lifetime. The teaching is true, I can't deny it, but not for someone like me. It could be that I am carrying too much, too many wounds, too much conditioning, or that I simply haven't practiced enough. If you have ever felt this, stay with me, because the ancient teachers of Kashmir had something very precise to say about this experience. And strangely, their answer may bring you great relief. They did not say you are broken. They didn't say you are spiritually inadequate. They did not say you need to become something that you are not. They said something much more mysterious. They said that consciousness itself can become so completely identified with limitation that it forgets its own vastness. And they described 3 fundamental veils through which this happens. They called them mullas. Mulla meaning something like tarnish, an obscuration, something that covers what is already shining. But before we look at the 3, I want you to give you an image, because if you understand this image, you may understand the whole teaching. Imagine an actor, a very good actor. He puts on the costume. He walks onto a stage. The lights come on. He knows his lines, and he becomes absorbed into the character. At first, somewhere in the background of his awareness, he knows I am an actor. He knows there is a theater. He knows there is an audience. He knows there is a costume. He knows that underneath the character, there still is an actor. But imagine, the acting becomes so complete, so total, that something extraordinary happens. He forgets. He forgets that he is acting. He forgets the theater, the audience, the costume. He even forgets the actor. He doesn't merely pretend to be the character. He becomes completely convinced, this is who I am. He is now lost in the character. Now imagine, the character is suffering. He has enemies. He has problems. He wants something. He is afraid of losing something. He wants his life to change. And someone from the audience shouts, "But you're an actor. This is just an act." The character looks up and says, "What are you talking about? You don't understand." Because from inside the character, The suffering is real. The danger is real. The separation is real. The story is real. And I want to be careful here, because this can sound like I am saying that grief does not matter. That is not what I mean. The grief is completely real. Yet here is the mystery. Who created this forgetting? The actor. Who is trapped inside the character? The actor. Who can awaken? The actor. And who was never actually trapped? The actor. This is very close to what the ancient Kashmir tradition is pointing toward. Consciousness does not become something other than consciousness. But consciousness can contract. It can identify. It can become so absorbed in one particular aspect that it forgets its own identity. And this contradiction is what the three mullas help us to understand. The first is Āṇavamala. The Sanskrit root here is anu. Anu means a tiny particle, an atom, the smallest unit. And mala means being made obscure, hidden. Āṇavamala is the feeling I am limited to only this, a tiny particle of the infinite, the atomization of infinite consciousness. Not the whole, not unlimited, just this body, this mind, this history, this personality, this particular life. Think about the actor again. He has forgotten that he is a professional actor. He now experiences himself only as the character. The character looks around and says, "This is who I am." And this creates something very subtle, a feeling of incompleteness, a limitation. Something is missing. You may have everything you thought you wanted, and still something feels unfinished. You may have success, love, money, knowledge, spiritual experiences, and still there is something strange, a feeling of not quite sure. Something is missing. And then spirituality comes along and gives you another object to chase: enlightenment, awakening, liberation, samadhi. And the character says, that is what I'm missing. So now the character begins searching for enlightenment. But notice the paradox. The one who is searching for wholeness is already the wholeness it is searching for. This is why the search can become exhausting, because the character is trying to become what the actor already is. Do you see the subtlety here? Āṇavamala creates the experience of the infinite appearing as the finite. The ocean experiences itself as a wave, and the wave says, "I wish I could become the ocean." But you see the absurdity. The wave cannot become the ocean. It can only recognize that it was never anything other than the ocean. And perhaps this is one of the deepest shifts in spiritual life. Not how can I become whole, but what is making me feel separate from the wholeness that is already here. The second veil is Māyīyamala. And this is the veil of separateness. Āṇavamala says, I am limited, a limited individual. Māyīyamala says, and everything else is outside me. Now return to our theater. The character looks around the stage and he sees other characters. And because he has forgotten that there is an actor behind the entire performance, he sees them as completely separate. That one is my enemy. That one is my friend. That one is a stranger. That one is dangerous. That one understands me. That one doesn't. And suddenly the whole theater has become a world of separate individual beings. This is Māyīyamala and the experience of separation. And again, it doesn't mean your relationships are imaginary. It doesn't mean your pain is imaginary. It doesn't mean you should walk around saying, we are all one, while ignoring the human reality in front of you. No. The teaching is subtler. It says that underneath the apparent separation, there is a deeper continuity, an underlying unity. The same consciousness is looking through different eyes. The same existence is appearing as different forms, like one sun reflected in many bowls of water. The bowls are different. The sun is one. And perhaps this explains a strange experience we sometimes have. You meet somebody, and for a moment the distance disappears. You don't know why. Perhaps there is no great conversation, nothing extraordinary. Yet suddenly you feel, I know you. Something becomes intimate. Or you look into the eyes of someone you love, and for a moment there is no philosophy. There is simply recognition. Perhaps that is why love can feel so mysterious, because love begins to soften the boundary between me and you. The two reflections begin to recognize the same light. And then comes the third veil, Kārmamala. Karma means action, doing. And Kārmamala is the veil that makes you believe I must do something to become free. This is perhaps the veil most spiritual seekers know, because the moment you hear that awakening is possible, the mind immediately asks, okay, what do I do? Meditate more, read more, go deeper, do another retreat, learn another technique, fix another part of yourself. And there is nothing wrong with practice. Practice can be beautiful, but something very subtle can also happen. The practice itself becomes another way of telling yourself, I am not there yet. And now every meditation contains the hidden message, I am not enlightened. Every retreat says, perhaps this time. Every experience becomes a measured, was that it? And the character becomes obsessed with improving the character. But remember, the actor, imagine the actor has forgotten he is an actor, and now he spends 20 years trying to make his character perfect, so that one day he can become the actor. And you would say, wait, you already are the actor. And this is the strange comedy of spiritual search. We are sometimes trying to perfect the person in order to discover the awareness that is already aware of the person. Kārmamala keeps the seeker moving. Always one more thing, one more achievement, one more experience, one more state. And maybe the deepest recognition sometimes comes when the movement stops. Because you see what you are searching for cannot be produced by action. You cannot manufacture awareness. You cannot create presence. You cannot practice yourself into existence. You are already here. So 3 veils, 3 ways consciousness forgets itself. Āṇavamala, I am small. Māyīyamala, everything else is separate. Kārmamala, I must do something to become whole. And suddenly, look at how much ordinary human life is contained inside those 3 sentences. I am not enough. They are different from me. I have to become something else. And you have spent years living inside those sentences without ever recognizing them as veils. This is why the teaching can become so liberating. Because the moment you can see the mechanism, you no longer have to believe every thought produced by it. You can begin by simply observing. I am feeling incomplete. Observe it. I feel separate. Observe it. I need to achieve something before I can relax. Observe it. And something extraordinary happens. You are no longer completely inside the character. You are beginning to notice the actor, not as an idea or as a philosophy, but as a living experience. Because the actor does not need to become the actor. He only needs to remember that he is one. And in many ways, you can still play the character beautifully. You can still love, still work, still laugh, still cry, still make mistakes, still live in this strange, beautiful human life. And maybe this is the great secret hidden inside the 3 mullas. The veil was never placed there by an enemy. The forgetting was not a punishment. Consciousness itself created the possibility of forgetting itself. Why? Perhaps so that it could experience what it means to remember, what it feels like to be a lover, a seeker, a human being, a frightened person, a joyful person. And the actor remembers. Not I have become enlightened, but simply, I was never only the character. And the actor knows himself. And that knowing is itself freedom.